Recording in progress.
Hey, John, good morning. Alrighty, you guys can hear me? Sounds good. All right, let's get started here. Alrighty, guys, we're going to be on YouTube for about the first 15 minutes, 30 minutes of the day here. So you guys watching on YouTube, if you guys could please like, subscribe to the channel there, and let's get started. Alrighty, guys, so first things off here, AMD, I've been watching that. We have a trade on AMD going out to that April. I think we also have a May Expo here as well there. But AMD's looking pretty good, holding that 10, 20-day simple moving average today. First thing I want to do is go over our current trades and what we're looking for. Obviously, you guys heard the news over the weekend. You know, Russia's threatening now with nuclear weapons, and, you know, things are getting a little crazy there. So we'll see how the market reacts. And just keep our eyes open for any type of breaking news today. Obviously, it's not a time where we want to make some new swing trades. Look at the market, take advantage of this volatility, and look for some short-term day trades here or some scalps. So first thing, Foot Locker down here. If you guys saw, I posted in the trade room, Foot Locker had like 7 downgrades this morning. So if you guys want to keep an eye on that, make sure you do. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Ram. Good morning, Janie. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a great week in there. Finally got some good weather. Now we just need this stuff with Russia and Ukraine to conclude here. Alrighty, so I posted in the trade room there, Rocket Labs here. That's getting a nice little pop there this morning. You can see I have my watch list right here. We got Palantir getting a nice little climb. TLT, 20-year Treasury bond ETF there. That's up a little over 1%. Workhorse, DWAX up a little bit there. Septon's one that we've been looking at. And AMD is slowly climbing here. I mean, that was down a little over almost 2% there, getting a climb. Let's take a look at our Disney trade that we have going out to that July Expo. What's nice about Disney is we're holding that blue 20-day simple moving average. As you can see, over the past 4 days here, we have failed to break above that 150 resistance area so far. So I'm just waiting for us to break that 150. More specifically, once we break that 155, I'm going to add to that July Expo there. You know, there's a lot of good things coming out as far as COVID concerns go. You know, everything's dropping a bit. So Disney should be getting rid of the park capacity within the next few weeks or within the next month. And with that July Expo, that's going to be great for us there. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do with Disney. It's holding up at that 20-day simple moving average pretty well, and just want to wait for that to continue to break out there. As far as Ford goes, we got a trade on Ford going out to that May Expo. We have the May 20th 18 strike call at $1.79 a contract. Our target's going to be around $21. And as you guys can see, Ford's been stalling there, just been consolidating. We're waiting for a climb above $18 there. So it's at $17.44 now. Once we start getting a climb above that $18, and more specifically above this blue 20-day simple moving average, that's where I'll be adding to that Ford May 20th Expo. So we already had the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, have the crossover there. We already had the signal line cross above the MACD. We got some green bars above the zero line on the histogram of the MACD. That's looking pretty good. It's just consolidating now. So now all we're waiting for there is that break above $18 to start adding to that Ford trade. Now, we could go down the watch list here, and we're going to give the market the first 15, 30 minutes of the day and then analyze it from there. So let's take a look at a 3-month daily chart. We'll start from the top of the watch list here. Here is Apple getting up to that 165, pulling back again. Airbnb, a sharp pullback from those highs of about 190. We could see this one's been one we've been watching coming off the lows here, but not eager to jump into that just yet. We got resistance right around that 550. AMD back above $120 a share, only down 76 cents, 0.63% on the day there. That's getting a nice climb. I think we're going to see that continue to climb today. So keep an eye on AMD. If you're not in an AMD trade yet, it's a great time to jump in. And you could be looking at something like an in-the-money vertical spread or some regular calls going out a little bit further there. Baidu still consolidating. BP here.
Just ahead of the open, S&P futures down 54. The Dow futures
Got about 1
down
minute till opening
131,
bell.
Nasdaq down 138. Crude,
Chevron had a little spike, pulling back a little bit there. Delta Airlines back down to $40.24, down about $1.30. Disney, like I said, that's holding that 20. DWAC, that had a little climb this morning. Express shares down about 6 cents. Ford shares down about 32 cents. A couple seconds until opening bell here. Facebook looks like it's holding that 200 area pretty well. We'll see if that starts breaking above that 10-day simple moving average. We could target a quick 225 there if we start to get that climb. But like I said, the main thing today is watch the markets, see what's going to happen, and if there's any type of news coming out. Top U.S. chip maker NVIDIA suffers network outage. Remember that was last week too with NVIDIA? We had a cyber attack on NVIDIA. Well, now they have a network outage. Alrighty, let's look at the watch list here, see what's turning green. I'm looking at SPY Qs over on the right. I'll put SPY up here for you guys to watch with me. Nasdaq's down about 112 points, and S&P 500's down about 51.
Dow Jones Industrial Average down 431 now after the open.
Watching AMD over to the right here. That one's holding that 50 so far. Watching that, holding that 120.71. Watching Qs get a little climb off that pullback at 9:30 candle. Looking at the top market movers, we have, let's see, Renewable Energy Group, REGI, up about 38% on the day. Intracon Corp, IIIN, up about 37% on the day. Looking at some of the market movers on top here. AMD just got up to that 121. You see what's coming green down here. We got Rocket. That just turned green. That was down over 1.5% this morning. Square's up about 2% now. There we go. There goes AMD getting a nice spike there back up to 121. That was just in the green a second ago there. So AMD is still trying to climb here, break above that 121 again. Smile Direct shares are on the climb. Let's see, Disney's climbing off those lows there as well. That's looking pretty good. Captain Thomas says check out Lucid, LCID. Lucid's looking pretty darn good there, Captain. 3-month daily chart there. Should be an easy target back up to about 30. Like I said, I don't trust the markets just yet, so I'm not going to be going long on anything just yet.
Disrupted by Russian invasion of Ukraine. Estimates a 2022 Q1 potential impact of earnings.
Deutsche Bank maintains hold on Foot Locker, lowers price target to $32. There's another one on Foot Locker there. Now we got the markets pulling back here again. And just like that, we got another pop on Qs. Let me put SPY right here. SPY's trying to break above that 433. There goes AMD, 121.16, new highs of the day on AMD. AMD is now in the green, 121.16 a share. Got a nice trade on AMD here. I'm waiting for that continued breakout. So not a bad start to the day here. So here is what we are looking at so far today. because we have a lot of longs for July. We're down about $416 on the open there. And that's mostly 300 of that's from that Disney here, which is for that July Expo, down about $1.19. And that's one of our largest trades we have on right now. Watching SPY here, consolidating 432.62. Watching Q's over there, 343.47. Delta just got a big pullback here. Looks like AMD's starting to pull back a little bit. I'm watching Q's as well there. Seeing if Q's are going to hold that 343. SPY looks like it wants to pull back a little bit here. Just watching that, watching the scanners there. Renewable Energy Group still up about 38% on the day. Let's see, John says VTRS is getting hammered. Let's see. You said they closed the Russian markets, right? Morgan Stanley maintains equal weight on Moderna, lowers price target to 205. Let's see what Yandex is doing. YNDX. That is the Russian Google. That is up 21% here today. Unbelievable. That one's got to be pulling back again soon. Watching Delta getting slammed over there, continuing to pull back on Delta. Watching Q's, SPY. SPY's getting a little climb. SPY's at the highs of the day right now. Let's see. German wind Enercon reports. You guys heard Elon Musk initiated Starlink satellites over the weekend, right? To help the Ukrainians. That was pretty impressive. SPY continuing to get a little climb there. Take a look at SPY, SPY. SPY's getting a little climb up to that 434. SPY's at highs of the day right now.
J&J, the European Medicines Agency.
NASDAQ's only down about 73 points now. S&P 500's only down about 38. So continuing to climb off the lows there. Qs are also climbing. Trying to break that 344 on Qs. SPY getting right up to that 434.
Refrigerated at 2 degrees centigrade to 8 degrees centigrade for single periods of up to 11 months, not exceeding printed expiration date. That's November Juliet J&J.
They still have 144 billion of cash. We've been talking for a long time about why Buffett hasn't done the big deal. And he continues to sort of indicate that he's just not finding a lot that excites him right now. Why does these, as Apple's multiple expands?
Watching AMD and Qs pull back a bit there. Indonesia Energy Corp is up about 14% on the day. That's coming up on the scanners.
But the panic that seems to be in the air is not being... You don't have to touch stock. It's rather small. I mean, the state of Texas has a bigger economy than does Russia, I believe. But should this have anything to do with the price earnings multiple of Ultimate? No, it shouldn't.
There goes SPY trying to break out again. I'm watching to see if it's going to break that 434 on SPY. Same thing with Q's, 344. Watching AMD hold that 120 so far. Now pulling back on that candle there, 119.80. Eight minutes in. You guys could see SPY starting to fill at that 10-day simple moving average. Watching that here.
It is. I think that's a fair point.
Coming up at 9:45 a.m., the Chicago PMI for February, expecting 63.
There's breaking news from Ukrainian president. They said they are not ready to surrender to Russia.
Well, you mean get all the
It's great news.
factories so that they can start to produce for the European market instead of having to move automobiles from either here or China or whatever.
So I think it's a buyer.
You do.
I do. I do.
Qs are starting to pull back again, back down to 343.05.
Last, remember, right? You haven't. You're still positive on something.
AMD 119.61. Watching Delta continuing to pull back there, 39.73 on Delta.
Stocks that aren't down. People right now
I'm watching the watch list over there too. Pretty much staying where we're at there, square up about 1.2%. Tesla shares are now in the green, up about $7 on the day.
Jeff Martin doing a fantastic job, etc.
Yeah.
It's doing high. I'm just talking about, I'm trying to be a little more balanced in terms of the negativity.
I understand.
I'm not saying, I'm not passing the drum on Robin Hood here.
Jim, the S&P, as you pointed out, we had a very strong day Friday.
SPY trying to hold that 433 here.
Less than 1%.
I'm watching Qs though pull back below that 343, 342.81, 342.71 now on Qs, continuing to sharply pull back on NASDAQ and Qs. Here comes SPY.
There's the prospect of of increased hostilities, right? Concern about a nuclear conflict. I mean, then our conversation might be a little different.
Just in terms of like,
Be more than a few days to recover from that.
right, but right. Oh, no, I mean, the nuclear war, remember, I had to put my head in the coming.
I know.
During the Cuban Missile Crisis. Some people are comparing this to the big things.
I thought you were going to say
Yeah, this morning they were in Poland, John, talking, so eager to see what happens with that throughout the day.
Take the technology stocks that are being
Ukrainian and Russian officials.
have no earnings and very few sales, and yet the analysts are rallying behind it.
All right, so give me some names that, and give our viewers some names right now. You mentioned it earlier during the Mad Dash. Hey, if you sell at 8 times sales, maybe you still get a bid. Really, what people want are companies that are producing earnings right
I'm not
now.
making a stand in Everbridge right here.
So where are you going to make your stand, Jeff?
I'm not, Alteryx is not my favorite stock. I'll make a stand on Workday, which of course
Workday, really? Your buddy in your grocery, okay.
yeah, I'll make a stand on HPQ.
No kidding.
Yes, I will. I'll make a stand on those.
Okay.
I think Enrico Lord is going to deliver a very good number. It sells at
Even with Dell and the response it got in the market for what we're...
Let's see there. Q's got a nice little climb back above that 340, 340 now. Big climb there on Q's. There goes AMD trying to break that 120 again.
Well, they cited sort of supply chain, some issues there as well.
SPY's going to try to retest that 434.
yes, I just think that both of them have decent stories. I know that Workday trades down horribly after almost every quarter, so I'm not telling people to go in. I'll just be on YouTube.
Captain says, look at the 3-month on FCX here. Let's take a look. 3-month daily Freeport McMoran. That's looking pretty good there. What a climb there from what, $5, $4? April 2020. It's a nice breakout there, Captain. You have anything on that?
Let's give you a quick report on the bond market. We were above 2% on the 10-year briefly last week, but we have fallen again below that at 1.877. You can take a look in terms of where yields are on the 2-year all the way up to 30 at 2.2.
So far on the SPY daily chart, you guys can see what we have going on. We had that 10 crossing below that 20. We had that pullback. We got up to that 10, and so far we're failing at that. So keep that in mind. Daily chart on SPY, Diamond and Qs, we're in BDM still. That's why it's really important right now to remain disciplined and patient there with those swing trades. Look for the opportunity to add, but short term here, take advantage of the volatility with some day trades. Watching SPY here still consolidate. Qs are pulling back a bit there. Qs 342.62. Delta 39.49. Chevron still trying to climb there. VIX up about 13%. Market's relatively flat here on the open.
HelloFresh meals, and of course they have the recipe cards with the instructions on the back, which are very easy to follow. The recipes come in 2-person or 4-person options, and even if you live alone, I'd say the 2-person option is awesome because you can have leftovers and
Coming up, the Chicago PMI,
we have
expecting
final
63.
My goodness, it looks so good.
Go to HelloFresh.com and use code EAT16 for 16 free meals plus 3 free gifts.
I guess that's it then, huh?
SPY trying to get a breakout here. I'm watching Q's trying to get right back up to that 343.
I knew that was the last thing I'd see, Tony.
Just a little bit of consolidation here, first 15 minutes of the day.
Give up what you love. State Farm has options like bundling home and auto.
Got a 2-point range here from about 432 to 434 so far on SPY. Keeping that in mind. I'm watching AMD there trying to break above, but so far it's been holding below that 10-day simple moving average since about the 934 candle. Trying to break above it now, right up at the 10 on AMD. Same thing with Qs.
Chicago PMI coming in at 56.3.
Chicago PMI 56.3.
The estimate was 63 on the Chicago PMI.
Let's talk about what is professional today.
I've been a janitor, I've been a designer, I've been an executive.
There goes AMD right back up to that 120. First candle above that 10. Let's see if it holds above it or if we just get that wick.
It's ours to define.
Watching SPY holding that 433, continuing to get that climb.
For only $30 a month. Means more of what you love.
Nice breakout on AMD, back up well over above 120.17, 120.28, 120.35. Nice breakout there on AMD, 120.37. Qs are getting a first candle up to that blue 20 SMA now. Nice climb there. I'm watching Deltas finally getting up to that 10. Let's see, SPY's at that 434 now. Let's see if it's going to test that, break out, or fail at that 434 again at that double top.
0.3. The last time we had a number this low, we have to go all the way back to August of 2020.
So far, we got some of that resistance right at that 434 here.
2.1. The good news is that 56.3 is 6.3 points above
So
the
just looking, waiting, and seeing if we're going to take out that 434 on SPY. Qs are starting to pull back again.
in Russia, of course, or what's going on with the remnants of COVID Omicron that are having an effect on the psyche of investors. But ultimately, we're hoping this turns around. We see markets in a bit of turmoil, and of course, we're looking at big jobs report on Wednesday and Friday. David,
We got the candle squeezing between that 10-20 SMA on SPY.
fresh off ringing this morning's opening bell, New York City Mayor Eric Adams joins us right here at Post 9. The city is poised to end its school mask mandate and indoor vaccination requirements next week as it continues to recover from the worst, of course, of the virus's health and economic impact. So nice to have you here. Thank you. Hope it's the first of many visits. You know, we're not far from City Hall.
Now, if we break below this 432 here on SPY, we're going to be looking at a larger drop here today. That's why we're watching these numbers right here, 432 and 434 on SPY.
Well, you know, it's a combination when you think about it. Moving our economy
Let's see, Bank of Japan to freeze Russian reserve assets.
to keeping our city safe, but it's also symbolism.
So they're continuing to get sanctioned throughout the world here today.
January 2024 polls now.
They start out as two
Active Papa Lima Bravo Yankee.
August and expand to 5, but it's just a symbol that we are back, and it was so important.
Yeah, you know, you say expand to 5. I will tell you that Jim and myself probably talk to more leaders of organizations than most people do. And Mr. Mayor, I mean, so many of them would love to have people back as often as they can, but the workers don't all want to show up regularly. And I do wonder what it will mean if, let's say, we get to 60 or
If we do start that pullback now on SPY, I'm getting my SPY contracts ready to go.
the downtown area,
Remember, trade small,
business districts in New York.
February 28th.
We're not understanding the connection. If you're a CPA and you have as a client a large number of restaurants, but you're home, then people are not going to give business to those.
Q's getting a climb. Nice climb there on Q's. There goes AMD again. SPY still squeezing between that 10 and 20 SMA. Let's see if we get that breakout here. Q's are getting a nice little pop. There goes AMD 120.42. Continuing to break out there on AMD 120.50. First candle on SPY above the 10 and 20 SMA. 1020 cross is coming up right here. Let's see if we can get that crossover. MACD's already had that crossover. We already got green bars above the 0 line on the histogram of the MACD.
Is really fostered in the fact that people don't feel safe in their city, the transportation system. If I bring about the safety that's needed and show the excitement of being back
At 434 here is going to be an important number. Let's see if we can break that.
office atmosphere, New York is going to come back and be part of the economy.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's great to have you here, first of all. I want to follow up on your anti-crime stance, which is well known. There's a Walgreens down the block, at 20 Green, and they put up chocolate. Good morning.
Markets aren't that bad today, given the circumstances, especially with the nuclear weapons and everything Russia's been talking about. So, not too bad. Delta still pulling back, 39.40 a share.
And you know, what you said is so important. They expect for someone to steal it. That's what has happened in this city. We've eroded our expectation to be safe, to be able to have a business. That erosion must stop. And we were there before during the mid-'80s when I was a rookie cop. And I'm saying you're not walking into my stores stealing.
Delta still pulling back sharply. Here comes Q's back below that 10.
You're not going to have homelessness in our subway system. We have to stop the normality of the city of being dysfunctional.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But at the same time, you have an effort.
We have resistance.
To try to move the homeless out of the subways. That's not an easy effort. Not only then, you know, they end up. I mean, listen, we have a homeless crisis here. We spend more than any city in the country by far.
See if we're going to break that 434 here on SPY.
Homelessness and the mentally ill. You know, isn't that a long-term problem?
No, it is a long-term problem. We're going to manage the expectations of people, but at the same time, there are steps of what we must do. We created an environment.
Delta pulling back sharply again, 39.30 a share.
as housing.
Q's pulling back again. SPY having trouble breaking that 434.
Living there with all their belongings.
But still consolidating, you know, it's not like we're seeing a sharp pullback or anything, which is good.
And I have to take my hat off to the MTA, the police, mental health professionals, and we're going to continue to evolve.
We're making slightly higher highs here as we're going along.
The subway, and then they're on the street.
Right, and it's an evolution. Now, we have to. I really believe we have to re-examine some of our laws. That if we know a person is dangerous to himself or others, we need to give them the care that they need. Our laws don't allow us to do that. We have a law called Kendra's Law. We need to strengthen that law. So it's imperative that we no longer take the thought process that people should be allowed to be harmful to themselves and others. But I'm going to do my job as to make sure they get the services they need.
Mr. Mayor, I have been a believer in crypto. I think that people should have 5% of their assets in whichever one they want. Okay, you have been a believer in crypto. Can you further?
Right now, we're just consolidating candles side by side there.
You could be the leader.
We must be the leader. Think about this for a moment. I took my first 3 paychecks in cryptocurrency. But the governor is doing something else that many people are missing. She's saying we should not be so difficult to open a crypto company. Because right now, no one wants to open a company here. Right. So she said, let's make sure we have the right safeguards in place, but let's also attract those excited.
It keeps trying to get that climb above that 434 here, but it's not happening yet.
Happened to our country where the foundation of our existence has been on capitalism. Why do we apologize for being capitalists?
That renewable energy. I'm watching the top largest percent stock gainers here on the NASDAQ, and so for that renewable energy, still at the top there, but only up about 38%, which is the same as it was before. Nothing moving up, but we do have Zomedica Corp climbing quickly there. That's up 23% on the day. It's only a 43-cent stock, but it's moving really quickly. There goes SPY breaking that 434. Q's getting a big breakout. There goes AMD, 120.50 a share on AMD. Finally got a breakout on SPY, and we got new highs of the day right now on SPY. So we finally got that breakout above that 434. Let's see if we get a confirmation candle now holding above it and continuing that breakout. Nice climb on Q's. Q's are almost at the highs of the day here as well. Delta getting up to that 10 at that 39.50 a share right now.
And we're putting in place a culture of can. Just because we don't understand the business structure
There it goes, AMD. Big breakout now on AMD.
Those days are over. We're going to learn to evolve.
121.02 a share on AMD. Close to new highs of the day here on AMD. Continuing to break out. 120.13. AMD is now in the green on the day. There goes AMD continuing to break out.
You know, I wonder what you can do. Sorry, Jim. That's right. With the budget, because I had tended through the years to actually be a student of the New York City budget. For some reason. 103 billion coming into this year. You're now
3-month daily chart on AMD looks great here. Notice how we had our stop at 110 a share on AMD, and as you can see, came down, tested that 110, but ended the day at 116.79 right there on the February 24th candle. So looking good there.
Office of the French presidency says French President Macron spoke to Russia's Putin on Monday.
Let's see. French president just spoke to Putin. Let's see what they talk about there. It's coming out on the newswire now. There goes AMD 120, 113 on AMD. Back in the green on the day.
We were able to decrease manpower without layoffs or furloughs. We looked at those vacancies, and in a very smart way, we said, let's balance our number of employees so that we make sure we can have the right number to run the city in an efficient way. We should be really commended on how we were able to show New York is what I stated. We're going to run a financially efficient city because these are taxpayers' dollars, and I'm going to protect them.
Sure. Now, Mr. Murray, I preface this by saying I'm a 76er fan, but my wife is a diehard.
See, here's the nice thing. Like Bill was talking about how he had those things there. Those are pivot points that you're putting in. So here's a pivot point on SPY for today 1 minute. That's that white line right here. So you can see right there. There's a pivot point waiting to break above that for that next breakout. So all you got to do is go down to studies here. You go down to all studies, and then you can put on your pivot points here.
But there's so much at stake here, and you know,
And that's going to give you those to look at.
we want to find a way to get Kyrie on the court.
Look at AMD breaking out here. What a breakout on AMD. Another nice run, 121.64 on AMD. 3-month daily, AMD's at the highs of the day.
French President Macron issued an urgent immediate ceasefire in the Ukraine.
Macron urged an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine.
Maywood Technology halted on a circuit breaker. Whiskey November Whiskey, WNW.
AMD's getting a nice breakout there.
67 cents. Whiskey November Whiskey.
I think we're going to see our targets on AMD relatively sooner than we thought. How many of you guys are in the AMD trade? There goes Q's getting right up to that red 50-day simple moving average on a today 1 minute chart. Delta's finally climbing above that blue 20.
We are here right now.
Another nice continued breakout there on AMD.
We can't close down again. I can't have my city close down again.
well, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate you coming by. We hope to see you again as well in the near future. Mayor Eric Adams of New York City.
Watching Delta over there, 39.61. Continuing to climb, 39.65 on Delta, 39.68, 69, 70. Qs are continuing to break out there. AMD's getting right up to that 122.02. Just broke 122 on AMD. There goes Qs breaking that 50 SMA. Take a look at Qs. On a today 1 minute chart, so far we're breaking above that red 50-day simple moving average, continuing that breakout. We had the 1020 crossover, we had the MACD crossover, we had the moving average convergence, divergence, green bars above the zero line there, which is great. So markets are still slowly climbing off the lows here this morning. There goes Qs, new highs of the day on Qs, 344.58. And AMD is still breaking out, 122.12 on AMD. 122.22 on AMD. 3-month daily chart looking great there. I'm expecting that continued breakout. John, what the hell are you eating there? What is that, John? You are a funny man. 122.32 on AMD, continuing that breakout. Q's got a big candle right there, 344.86 on Q's. AMD still running here. If you guys are in AMD, got some nice profits on the AMD trade already. Remember that April 14th.
That's why the world's largest companies and over 30 million people rely on Prudential's retirement and workplace benefits. Who's your rock?
We're not a political show. We're a news.
Those AMD calls right now, those AMD April 14th 115 calls that we picked up for $10.85, they are now going for about $13.40 there. So 10 contracts with that, obviously that's going to be about a $3,000 gain. Still continuing to break out there, looking pretty good. I'm watching Delta 39.78 continuing to climb. Q's at new highs of the day, nearing 345, just breaking 345 now on Q's. I'm watching AMD there, side by side candle. There we go, new highs of the day on AMD. Continuing to break out there nicely on AMD. How many of you guys are in the AMD trade?
Pam will have us on a suspect.
She should be.
Biden to host leaders of Southeast Asian leaders in Washington March 28th to 29th at the White House. Hopefully we're still around by then. Nice breakout there. Let's see. I'm watching Q's right here.
OBCI, Ocean Biochem raises dividend to 4 cents. Oscar Bravo Charlie India. OBCI.
Compass Point maintains
OHI,
neutral on Coinbase.
MindPR,
Lowers price target at
Nokia
$200.
Strategic alliance to deliver virtual reality therapeutics and senior care. That's Oscar Hotel India.
And the NASDAQ there, Morgan, only down, let's call it 0.25%.
Let's see. Tony says he has an AMD vertical call spread. What strikes do you have there, Tony? Loving the looks of AMD there. Now we just got to get Disney to start that climb there. DWAC's moving again up about 1% on the day.
Bernard Looney and former exec Bob Dudley are also resigning from Rosneft's board. That is effective immediately. Those shares are down 7% right now. Plus, Raytheon Technologies shares moving higher.
You guys saw the new article out about Miss Ukraine, right? She said she's hanging up the tiara, and she got some AK-47s there, and she's out in the streets. Miss Ukraine. That's a real winner there. Gotta go find her.
That was helped in large part by its investment in Apple. Berkshire also bought back a record $27 billion in stock just last year. David.
Almost exactly how much it earned as well.
Let's see. Tony says he has the 129-130 vertical spread for March 11th Expo.
Ukraine officials from Kyiv and Moscow holding ceasefire talks today. This is Russia's
That's looking pretty good there, Tony.
Ukraine enters its 5th day. Our Hadley Gamble is live in Moscow.
Pretty good there. I like that one. What'd you pay for that?
Hey there, David. Well, just moments ago in an exclusive interview, I spoke with Ukraine's foreign minister, and he told me that at least so far in those conversations between Ukraine and Russia, the Russians haven't shown good faith to find some kind of a solution. He also told me that when it comes to what happens next regarding Russia's economy, he said, listen, when it comes to the Russian ruble, every Russian ruble has the mark of Ukrainian blood. He called on Exxon, who followed
26 cents to be worth $1. Okay.
operating in Russia to cease immediately. He also said this is a country that must be sanctioned on its energy sector. He said there should be sanctions on gas, there should be sanctions on oil. He said that that was the only way for Vladimir Putin to really be stopped. But when I asked him if he feels
Seems like a lot, but let's check her out.
Ukraine will win. They have no other choice.
She's at 29 cents now, so you're up $3 a contract there. I'm watching SPY and Qs continue to pull back.
December for the West to act now in order to prevent an invasion. Of course, we've seen that invasion already taking place. He said he welcomed moves by BP and others to finally pull themselves out of the devil's bargain with Russia. But at the end of the day, more needs to be done, and the West cannot lose faith. Guys,
Q's still pulling back there. No news.
What does winning actually look like from a Ukraine standpoint?
well, for the Ukrainians, Morgan, at the end of the day, they want Russia to withdraw completely. And I mean withdrawing from the contested areas, the Donbass. They want them out of Donetsk.
Here's one of those ones we were talking about this morning. I posted in the trade room. Bloom Energy shares are trading higher after Susquehanna upgraded the stock from neutral to positive and announced a $33 price target. If we take a look at BE, $33 price target on this. It's already up 8.74% on the day. 3-month daily chart there. Beautiful breakout on Bloom Energy.
The seat spiking here. $11.89. Delta Sandy Kilo Echo DSKD.
One can be found sooner rather than later. Hadley Gamble, thanks for bringing us the latest. Staying with Russia and Ukraine, our Steve Wiesman is...
Look at Tesla shares still breaking out there. So is Square. Square's up 2.35% on the day. Tesla's almost up 4% on the day, getting right up to that 850 on Tesla.
Delta Sandy Kilo Echo.
Square's starting to get a nice pop there off those lows. That was a sharp pullback on Square. And look at that pullback, how it came from about $290 a share just about a couple of months ago, all the way down to, 80-some dollars a share. So that's starting to get a little pop there. Should see PayPal continuing to break out here as well. First candle above that 10. Watching Ford still consolidating there, side-by-side candles.
Interest rates to a crushing 20% from 9.5%. It prohibited Russians from purchasing foreign Russian assets and requires Russian companies to sell 80% of their hard currency to the central bank. The country has touted its $630 billion fortress Russia reserves, and while much of it now...
Gotta watch SPY here, seeing if we're going to break below that 433. Let's see, Rick's in the 118, 119. March 25th at 50 cents a contract. Rick, that's a nice trade right there. Really great trade. 100% gain as long as AMD is above 119 a share. That's a great one.
Certainly watching U.S. markets for negative signs and thinking about the potential fallout impact to the U.S. economy.
I'm watching SPY here to see if that's going to break below that 433 here or hold that. Want to see that candle above that red 50 here for that further breakout. AMD is starting to get a climb there again, 121.84.
Dollar funding, unlike other crises. The sanctions and the war will mean higher commodity prices and inflation here at home, and there could be possible counter-sanctions from
AMZN, Amazon, the information reporting Amazon drops mask mandate.
Amazon just dropped their mask mandates for all their warehouse employees.
November, AMZN.
It seems like, yes, markets are down, but it's not disorderly. It doesn't appear to be systemic.
There goes AMD getting another nice breakout back above 122 again on AMD.
Report, I know you're very familiar with it. Concern about that very fact and whether the Fed would have to come in some way to support money markets. None of that right now at all.
Love when you see the general market down and then you see a couple of your stocks in the green. They're outperforming the markets there. That AMD is going to be a golden trade there. Waiting for that Disney to take off here again.
XXII, 22nd Century Group announced South Korea as first BLN international market.
P, this we get sent out on apps. Breaking news there. Amazon dropping mask mandates for all U.S. warehouse workers.
Somebody said to me, if a banker went home Thursday night or Friday, long any Russian credit, they came in Monday without a job.
Qs are starting to pull back here, along with SPY, so probably going to see a little bit of a pullback here again. SPY and Qs just doing about the same thing.
Investment strategist Lizanne Saunders and Columbia Threadneedle Investments head of integrated equity Ernesto Ramos. Thanks to you both. Lizanne, just jumping off from Steve there, in terms of the macro implications that you see and what they are, how long they'll last from obviously what's going on in Ukraine, what are they?
Well, I think we're clearly still at headline risk levels for the equity market on an intraday basis, on a pre-open basis. I think the settling in relative to where we were when futures opened last night maybe is because negotiations are happening and there's some hope that there's some sort of off-ramp here, but nobody has any sense of that.
There goes Qs and SPY pulling back again.
The more important macro medium-term driver
Gonna get the SPY puts ready to go in case we start pulling back sharply.
Very little risk that they do 50 basis points, but these days, both in terms of the Russia-Ukraine situation and data as it's coming in and perceptions thereof, 2 weeks is still a bit of a lifetime.
Seems like there's a lot of people, a lot of countries trying to talk to Russia here, so we'll see how they respond to it. AMD's right at that 20 SMA on it today, 1 minute chart. Let's see if it's going to hold it there. SPY and Q's continuing to pull back a bit.
Of course. Ernesto, I think you're talking about, listen, regardless.
DA Davidson maintains neutral on Carvana, lowers price target of 140 a share.
And so my question is, what are the implications if in fact that is the case?
Well, there's clearly some long-term implications. The short term is very hard to predict, but the long-term implications are several. One, for example, is increased defense spending by Europe and the U.S.
MNTV, Momentus Global announcing $200 million share buyback. That's Michael November Tango Victor, MNTV.
Has been underinvested, especially by Europe, for quite a while. Another is energy prices will stay stronger for longer. That's pretty clear. And so that may not be a very long-term effect, but that's clearly now the case. Financial friction.
AMD's still holding that 20, trying to get that climb, squeezing between that 10-20 SMA on a today 1 minute chart. Watching that, watching Delta, watching Q SPY, Disney.
But it's of course a company by company situation, and our analysts at Columbia Threadneedle are busily trying to quantify the aspects, all the aspects of this transmission of rising costs into their stocks, and we take that into account when we're building our portfolios. So those are just some examples. Another one, for example, is more investment in renewables and perhaps some acceleration of reopening nuclear plants in Europe as Europe tries to...
Very tight range this morning, 432 to 434
from Russia.
on SPY.
Lizanne, how does all of this play out for earnings? I mean, we're seeing earnings revisions come down, and certainly Morgan
Starting to break down though on SPY. Let's see if it's going to fail at that 10 here and continue to pull back. Looking to see if it's going to break below this 1009 candle right here. If we do, we'll probably see that 432. There comes Q's pulling back. So we'll probably see SPY doing the same here.
These macro uncertainties, but how does that now get affected as we do have these discussions around geopolitics and the Fed and inflation?
Well, I think the negative revisions trend is an important one. I think we have to remember that when it comes to the relationship between the stock market and economic data, earnings data, that better or worse matters more than good or bad. And when you look at what we're still, in an absolute sense, strong earnings for the fourth quarter, whether it was the beat rate, the percent by which companies beat, and then that negative positive earnings revisions ratio, we clearly are seeing a deceleration right now. And that is one of the reasons why...
I'm going to get these SPY puts ready to go just in case we want to jump in here.
In terms of leadership among factors. So value-oriented, lowercase v, quality-oriented, and then that positive earnings revision factor. We're really just seeing an environment that's getting more squeezed.
This is what I'm looking at here in case I want to do a SPY put trade here. I'd pick up the February 28th 431 strikes. Just watching it right now. Not in it yet, but I'd be looking at the SPY February 28th 431 strike puts if we continue lower here.
First quarter for earnings.
Ernesto, I'm going to put the same question to you, especially as we have, I'm sure, many
I'm just going to get that ready to go just in case.
traders, but are watching those.
All I have to do now is hit place trade. Not doing it yet, just watching. Seeing what the markets are going to do. AMD had a sharp pullback there from those highs.
It's so hard to
Got up to about 122.50 at 120.67.
Especially with high volatility impact situations like this. So stick to the long-term plan. Rely on professional managers to manage your funds. We think there's an opportunity here for active stock pickers that hasn't been here for quite a while, even before the Russia crisis. But this certainly accelerates the opportunities for identifying risks and mitigating them, as well as identifying opportunities and capitalizing on those. And that's what we do here at Columbia Threadneedle in our portfolio. So we recommend investors do not react to these events and just stay the course according to their long-term plans.
All right. Ernesto, Lizanne, thank you both.
Q's pulling back here again.
As we head to break, check out the top gainers on the S&P right now. Solar Edge, Enphase, Occidental, and then defense names like Northrop and Lockheed. So basically energy, clean tech, and new energy, and then defense leading the charge in what is another down day for the S&P.
News is happening now. Look at what's making headlines around the world.
We're coming on the air with breaking news.
This is a significant moment.
Whenever it happens, wherever you are, NBC News, streaming free now.
Thanks for coming. Now, when it comes to a financial plan, this broker is your man. Let's open your binders to page 188.
Carl, are there different planning options in here?
Options?
Plans we can build on our own or with help from a financial consultant, like Schwab does.
Can we adjust our plan?
And our son just started working.
Do you offer complimentary?
AFRM of Firm Holdings, the June 60 calls now. Alpha Foxtrot Romeo Michael, AFRM.
Let's see,
Shares,
AFRM.
topping to the highs now on a firm.
Let me see what's going on with that AFRM. A firm having a nice breakout there.
$41 on AFRM.
We're not a political show. We're a newscast. We have resources all over the world. Heightened alert for American troops.
That one had such a sharp pullback there.
The facts, the truth, the news.
I'm gonna put that one down on my watch list right here in front of me. AFRM.
Future can be. You want to do it right. UCF Online offers more than 100 fully online programs, plus personalized support from success coaches. So you can
Here's those call sweeps coming in on a firm.
How powerful is an Invisalign smile? So powerful, you can face anything, even these faces. Invis is a powerful thing. Invis is the clear aligner brand most trusted by doctors and more predictable. Invisalign.
SPY still pulling back there. Getting ready for that trade here just in case we continue that pullback. I got that 431 strike put for today's expo ready to go.
RIVN, Rivian, the weekly 61 calls now. Romeo India, Victor November, RIVN shares ticking higher on Rivian, RIVN.
Ukraine president seeks fast-track admission into European Union. I don't think that's going to happen.
Looks like since the start of the year, but 8% for February, on track for its best month since last March. Defense stocks like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, and Northrop Grumman all trading at fresh highs amid the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
The EU countries are Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Republic of Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden.
By 2024, that's a NATO commitment that it has failed to meet.
WAC, Digital World Acquisition, shares getting a pop here now. The June $70 calls trading on DWAC, Delta Whiskey Alpha Charlie.
Including $3.5 billion for the Pentagon, specifically from Congress. And meantime, greenlighting another $350 million in weapons to Ukraine forces, including more Lockheed and Raytheon joint-made Javelin anti-tank missiles, more Raytheon Stinger missiles. NATO member Slovakia says it's now getting a Raytheon-made Patriot missile defense system from Germany as well. And we already knew Poland is buying $6 billion, or looking to buy $6 billion worth of General Dynamics-made Abrams tanks. And David, this is
Poland's buying how much? $6 billion worth of Abrams tanks from GD, General Dynamics.
WMW, Maywood Technology shares still some relatively big volume. Shares off the highs now, $2.08.
Let me see GD quick here.
hit a high of $2.60.
GD is getting a nice spike on that news. Shares up 2% on the day.
Playing out on the ground, you're going to see more spend potentially there too.
Probably going to see some of these defensive stocks continuing to break out.
To track everything that's moving, spacecraft and otherwise that's moving in deep space.
Understood. All right. Well, right here back on Earth, as we head to break, keep us
SPY's at the lows of the day right now, continuing to pull back.
They announced the deal this morning to acquire a renewable energy group, trying to take their overall production of what they call renewable fuels to about 100,000 barrels a day by 2030. By the way, put that in perspective, Exxon's goal for 2030, 200,000 barrels a day, but still percentage-wise, a small percent of their overall production for either one of those companies. By the way, we're going to talk about this and a lot of other things with Chevron.
So far, it's testing that double bottom right now on SPY. Watching that closely here at that 432.
I could have waited to tell my doctor my heart was racing just making spaghetti, but I didn't wait.
I could have delayed telling my doctor I was short of breath just reading a book, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they had atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, contact your doctor. This is no time to wait.
Qs are trying to break out there, getting a candle above that 10. Watching Qs there along with SPY. AMD's starting to break out again.
Guys, it's called service. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We're not a political show. We're a newscast. We have resources all over the world. Heightened alert for American troops. This is a place for the news.
Bitcoin futures above the 40,000 mark now, 40,530.
Put everything we had into this. Do not miss the chance to get in.
We had an opportunity, we took it.
My family is going to come in here and tackle you. Do this deal.
Q's getting a nice break out there. There goes AMD back up to 121.50. Just $1 off highs of the day there on AMD now. So far, SPY's holding that 432, as we've been talking about all morning.
Means more of what you love for less. Whoa, Xfinity Mobile with the internet. It's so good, it keeps one-upping itself.
The Vormax toilet. See the power of the
Nice breakout on Q's here.
last chance to save as City Furniture's extended
XPEV,
President's Day
Xpeng,
sale. Get
the
trends you want,
March
prices you'll love. Because with 60 months
$35
finance,
call sweep active now. X-Ray Papa Echo Victor, XPEV.
everyone can live like this.
That's good news there, John. Russia's open to talks with Ukraine and expects them to lead to the needed results, Putin told Macron in phone call. That's good news. We'll see if anything happens with that news. We're getting a nice breakout there on Qs. AMD's back up to 121.75. Biggest thing we could do is listen to the news events. Once we hear something, we could take advantage of it with a short-term scalp or a day trade. Just being patient and disciplined here, listening to the events taking place, watching the markets.
Just this morning, the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control prohibiting the U.S. from transactions with the Russian Federation's central bank, the National Wealth Fund, and the Ministry of Finance. Joining us now, former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Economic Policy and Maryland Smith Dean's Professor of Finance, Michael Falklander. Michael, thank you for being with us today. A lot of focus this morning on SWIFT.
Putin tells Macron that a neutral status for Ukraine is needed for resolution of conflict.
Removed from this messaging system could actually mean not only for Russia, but also the broader financial system.
I don't know. What is their problem with Ukraine? What is Russia's problem with them? I don't get it. It's not like Ukraine went over there and did anything to them.
Purchases of natural gas from Russia, but I think the quickest
Let's see if we could climb above that red 50 on SPY here. That's what I'm waiting and watching for here. Qs have already done it.
Broad fallout that could harm the global economy, undermine the purpose of the penalties. Certainly, we've heard the argument as well that this incentivized the creation of alternative means to SWIFT. How real are those risks versus the pain that this could, at least in the near term, inflict on Russia?
Right, so SWIFT is not the only system that's used to provide for transactions across borders. The Chinese have been setting up a system for a while, and we threatened to remove Russia and some of the Russian banks from the SWIFT network back in 2014. It didn't end up taking place, but it's been understood for a while that this is a potential tool. And so it has potentially incentivized the creation of an alternative payment system for international transactions, and this may accelerate it, but it's the right thing for us to do to try to put pressure on the Russian economy and the Russian government back off on its actions in Ukraine. So those threats are potentially real, but I think that the Chinese were looking to create an alternative payment system anyways, and so while this may accelerate Russia's usage of it, I think the Russians were largely going to move that direction anyways. So it's something that we were going to observe over time.
So I guess that raises the question then about China and China's role in all of this. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot of talk about cryptocurrencies and the roles those types of assets are playing where Russia is concerned in the midst of all of this too. I mean, do we yet know just how much or just how prepared Russia was for this moment?
We don't, and that's one of the things that I've been looking for. I know that when Steve Leisman was on earlier today, he was talking about the location of Russian reserves. I believe that those are from the middle of last year. It would be interesting to find out how much Russian reserves have moved in the last few months. I imagine that Vladimir Putin and his finance ministry has known that they were preparing for this and moving reserves around to try to reduce the impact of these potential moves by Western nations. So I don't know how much the reserves have moved around and how much they have prepared to be cut off from some of the global financial system in anticipation of these meltdowns.
What is your expectation then in terms of how debilitating this is going to be for Russia, Russia's businesses, and overall its economy?
The linchpin on all of
We're seeing SPY here fail at that red 50-day simple moving average, starting to pull back here again. Let's see if it's going to hold that 10, start that climb. Right now it's squeezing between that 10.50. It came down, it tested those lows of the day from that 9.30 candle right here at that 10.19 candle. Then we got that climb there. Once we heard about Putin, Macron there having that conference, we got that little spike. Now we're coming right back down here. So let's see if we're going to take out that 432 or continue to try to break above it here.
it's the right thing for us to do, but the linchpin here is
Slow day since opening. Pretty tight squeeze there between that 432 support and 434 resistance here. Qs are starting to get a climb again. There goes AMD, almost at that 122 again.
CEO Cristiano Amon, he's going to be joining the group first on CNBC. He'll be live from the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. That is coming up at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll be right back here on Swap in the Street.
SPY looks like it wants to try to break out. There goes Qs, another nice climb. AMD broke that 122. AMD 122.15. SPY breaking above that 50. Nice breakout there. Let's see if we continue. Let's see what else is moving on the watch list. DWAC up about 2.2% here on the day. Chevron up about 1.3%. That BP's been getting slammed there lately. AMD shares up 122.17 on AMD. There she goes, continuing to break out on AMD. Intel's trying to break out there too. I'm watching Intel up above. Express shares now in the green. We got Robinhood in the green here today, 11.65 a share. CarMax up about 0.8% on the day. NVIDIA shares starting to get a climb in the green now on the day. Palantir shares back up over 3%. There goes Q's getting another big breakout.
Moderna says aware that Genevant has alleged that company's COVID-19 vaccine.
Nice breakout on SPY. Q's. There goes AMD near new highs of the day.
mRNA, Moderna.
Got a lot of the watch list here starting to turn green
Coming
slowly.
Up, the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index for February.
Tesla shares up 5.5% here on the day. ExxonMobil turned green here. SPY still continuing to climb. Looking pretty good there.
Welcome back. I'm Rahel Solomon, and here is your CNBC News update at this hour. Russian and Ukrainian officials have begun talks, but expectations are low for a deal. Ukraine is represented by its defense minister, while Russia's delegation is led by Putin's advisor on culture and unlikely envoy for ending the invasion. Ukraine's foreign minister telling CNBC that Ukraine is not ready to surrender or capitulate. Russian military units continue to flow into eastern Ukraine.
Excuse me, there goes Q's. Another nice breakout. Big candle there on Q's. Continuing to break out. SPY getting that climb again. AMD 122.50. Testing highs of the day now on AMD. Excuse me.
And neutral Switzerland is adopting the EU sanctions against Russia, including asset freezes. The Swiss president calls Russia's attack on Ukraine intolerable on moral and political grounds. You're now up to date. David, I'll send it back to you.
More sanctions on Russia here. I don't know how they're going to survive, with all these sanctions. All their assets are frozen. They can't use bank accounts. They can't go to the ATM, get money out. It's hurting their citizens there tremendously. There goes AMD. New highs of the day near 122.75 on AMD. Q's getting another nice breakout there. SPY's continuing to climb. Now, do you see how patient and disciplined we were on SPY? We were waiting and watching this all day here. It was just trading sideways. Came down into that 432. I had an order ready to go on those SPY puts, but I saw it test that double bottom here for the day and then started that climb. So we didn't make any trade there, which was great. We were disciplined, waited, and just watching AMD continuing to climb there now. Intel's trying to break out nicely there. I'm watching that squeeze between that 10 and 20-day simple moving average on a 6-month daily chart. Q's still climbing there, looking pretty good.
Press release from Jana Partners.
There goes AMD again, near that 122.75. Just broke 122.77, near 123 on AMD.
Citigroup was just $70 a short while ago. It's from $60 to $70, essentially back to $60 in less than a month. This is a big stock to move around, 15% in less than a month. So just a lot of volatility in the underlying financial sector, and of course that's a very, very big sector other than the tech sector. Elsewhere, the reopening stocks, just pity these poor reopening stocks. They literally get kicked around by ping pong balls almost on a weekly basis. These stocks now routinely swing 20% ranges over a week or 2 week periods.
Loving that breakout on AMD.
But still no clear bottom in that right now. Finally, to what David was talking about, very interesting development overnight. The NYSE and the Nasdaq both halted trading in their Russian-listed stocks that trade on the Nasdaq and on the NYSE. These are not delistings; these are simply regulatory halts, so they don't trade. More importantly is the underlying ETFs, the exchange-traded funds. There are several Russian ETFs, two of them in particular, that are continuing to trade. Now, how do you actually price an ETF when the underlying stocks are not trading because the Russian stock market is closed on which they're based? Well, you make a guess, folks, and they have very successfully been doing this for a long time with exchange-traded funds. This has happened many times. Greece, for example, closed their stock market for several weeks a few years ago, and yet the Greek ETFs that trade here continue to trade. Traders simply estimated what they thought the underlying stocks would be, and when Greece reopened, the stocks traded exactly in line with where the exchange-traded funds were trading. So what can happen here, Morgan, is a very interesting development.
That's interesting what they're saying there on CNBC with the Russian ETFs.
Essentially wags the dog. In theory, it's the stocks that should be setting the prices, but what happens when the stock exchange in Moscow is closed? How do you set prices on an ETF that trades in the United States? And the answer is you make educated guesses, and it turns out those guesses can be very
very, very good and very accurate overall. So keep an eye on that, and of course, we'll see when the Russian stock market opens. Now, obviously, these ETFs are trading at a discount right now because we don't know what the actual values of the underlying stocks are. But the market trades. Morgan, back to you.
It is a fascinating dynamic, and of course those ETFs are both down double-digit percentages today. Bob Pisani, thank you.
Okay.
Let's get over to Kayla Tausche, live from the White House as the Biden administration announced additional sanctions against Russia's central bank. Kayla.
Well, Morgan, today the U.S. Treasury unleashed a punishing wave of new sanctions. You've been talking about it all morning. The U.S. banning all American companies and individuals from transacting
AMD chart's looking great.
for Russia's central bank, its Ministry of Finance, and its National Investment and Wealth Fund. Senior administration officials
Watching that Disney there as well. Delta shares down 6% today, down to 39.04.
EPAM, EPAM systems halted on a circuit breaker at the lows 271.73. Echo Papa Alpha Michael.
President Putin today convened the Kremlin's top economic officials, which have
Shares now down about 29% on EPAM.
increasingly isolating the Russian economy and providing Putin with few options to shore it up. According to multiple reports, Putin, in a short televised part of that meeting, accused the United States again of a web of lies. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, there's a possibility that bombardment could slow in a call.
EPAM earlier had announced it was withdrawing its Q1 and full year guidance due to uncertainties related to the events in the Ukraine.
First ever deliveries of Stinger missiles from the U.S. and defense funding from the
That's
EU.
Echo Papa Alpha Michael halted now at the lows.
Along the Belarusian border, no word on exactly what could come out of those talks. President Biden earlier today did not stop to talk to reporters after arriving here at the White House from a weekend in Delaware. We expect to hear publicly from the Pentagon and the White House later this afternoon. Of course, a lot could happen before then. David, back to you.
Kayla, thank you. Kayla Tausche. Well, joining us now with over 40 years of diplomatic experience is former ambassador to Russia, Thomas Pickering. He's also former Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs and now the Vice Chairman at Bills and Company.
AMD trying to break out again. Q's trying to do the same. They're getting right back up to that 345 on Q's.
UBER, GOOGL, AAPL. Lithuanian ministers asked Google and Apple to remove availability in Lithuania of the Yandex taxi ride.
What is your sense as to what options Putin
Hailing
has
service
for
Apple by
Vladimir,
Russia's
what it is
Yandex
he may
and
choose to do?
Uber.
I think the situation is a little more mixed than you portray it. We're only 5 days into the fighting. The Russians are obviously in a position to use their heavy preponderance of force here in a more drastic and indeed more brutal way. And Putin seems to be tilted in that direction. So I'd be cautious about that. The threats about nuclear, in my view, need to be heeded. Obviously, one wants to be very cautious and not to move in the direction that he hints, but at the same time, I think it is useful to take the positive news that you have relayed and see how it can be converted by the Ukrainians.
Watching Q's trying to break the highs of the day here.
To a ceasefire and some kind of workout. That's what the pressure is for, and hopefully that can be done. And my sense is it will take time before that can be done, and that we should remain cautious, if hopefully a little bit optimistic about that happening. But I would not be certain. Russia and the Russian people have undergone extreme hardships in the historical past, and Russian pride in their country and in their achievements is such that
Rivian, after that earlier call activity, shares at the hitting the high 6607. Romeo India Victor November.
system can be used.
Nice breakout on Q's there. New highs of the day on Q's. There goes Intel. There goes AMD breaking 123. 123.01. Delta just got a nice 40-cent climb there off the last 3-minute candles there. Intel only down about 14 cents on the day, ready to turn green. I'm watching that one trade between that 10-20 SMA. Nice breakout there on Q's.
EPAM.
Bunker, so to speak, for the last 2 years. He doesn't speak to a lot of people directly, perhaps doesn't take advice the same way he might once have. You think anything's changed with him, or is it just more of the same?
Q's are almost green on the day here, guys.
No, I think it is more
NASDAQ is in the green now for the day.
Qualcomm CEO coming up on CNBC at 11:30 a.m. Eastern
Disney's
Time
getting a
from
nice
the
climb
Mobile
off the
World
lows there
Congress.
too, getting a nice run.
That's Quebec Charlie Oscar Michael, QCOM.
Where he browbeat the man into supporting him when the man obviously had reservations. And I think at the same time, over-optimism about what he can achieve militarily, and indeed a very bad...
I was waiting all morning to see if there was a lot of selling pressure coming in, but when I didn't see those larger candles, that larger volume coming in, I figured we're probably going to get a spike off the lows here, so looking pretty good.
That the U.S. has no guts and will not back itself up, and that the rest of the world will leave the U.S. in boards if the U.S. gets tough and tight, all of which have proved to be wrong. And it'll take
U.S. official says U.S. assesses that Russia will try to encircle Kiev in the coming days.
We need to keep engaged, we need to keep on, we need to keep the pressure up, but we need to do a much better job than we have with cutting off his profits from energy on the one hand, and secondly, using the negotiations on a consistent and committed basis, making clear our initial positions are strong, firm, committed, and we're ready to go on.
Ambassador Pickering, I mean, as we're having this conversation, I'll just note that the markets are bouncing off their lows of the session, NASDAQ just turning positive. That being said, I want to go back to the nuclear piece of the puzzle, because obviously Putin put nuclear forces on high alert over the weekend. But in addition to that, you see the
Another nice breakout on AMD there. Look at Q's going 346.05 on Q's.
in recent weeks, for better or worse, but they renounced their non-nuclear status as well, meaning that you could see that country begin to host Russian nuclear
Those AMD calls right now. Let's take a look. AMD April 14th, 115 calls are now going for almost $14 there.
We have always counted in the end on both Russian leaders and American leaders to appreciate the notion that stumbling into
Q's getting up to 346.50. Nice breakout on Q's.
conflict by accident or misperception would be
You guys could see Q's here trying to break out on a daily chart. Today, 1 minute. Get a nice continued breakout there on Q's. Nice run here. Delta's getting a beautiful breakout off the lows there. 39.58 a share on Delta. Still shares down about 4.69%, but a nice breakout there happening on Delta. There goes Intel, almost green on the day.
SCDG, SolarEdge Technology.
Take a look at INTC. That's what I've been watching here. On a 3-month daily chart on Intel, we're trading between that 10, 20-day simple moving average. So we could see a quick climb back up to 50 here if the markets get a resolve.
real solution on the one hand, and secondly, where active use of military
Disney getting a nice spike here too. Take a look at Disney shares holding that 20-day simple moving average. Q's getting a nice breakout there, 346.75 on Q's.
All right. Not making me feel much better, Ambassador, but always appreciate your time. Thank you.
the truth is hard.
Yes.
AMD back up near and highs of the day, 123.10 on AMD. There goes Q's again.
tomorrow morning, don't miss former Treasury
Another nice breakout on Q's. We might be able to see Q's get up to that 350, possibly 352 today if we continue the climb. There goes AMD, another nice breakout there on AMD, 123.30 a share. Continuing to break out. We're almost green for the day here in the account. Getting a nice climb there.
There's a different way to treat HIV. It's once monthly injectable Cabenuva. Cabenuva is the only once-a-month complete HIV treatment for adults who are undetectable.
Reuters says U.S. monitoring Russian nuclear forces as closely as possible. Haven't seen any specific movements as a result of Putin's alert order.
So U.S. says they're watching the nuclear weapons Russia has very closely. They're not seeing any types of moves. They're not seeing anything moving around. So that's great news there.
Depression. If you have a rash and other allergic reaction symptoms, stop Cabenuva and get medical help right away. Tell your liver problems, or mental health concerns. And if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or considering pregnancy, some of the most common side effects include injections.
Guys, remember, we got the trade challenge starting this week here as well.
Cabenuva. Attend all treatment appointments.
With once a month Cabenuva, I'm good to go.
Ask your doctor about once monthly Cabenuva.
We put everything we had into this. Do not miss the chance to get in.
We had an opportunity, we took it.
My family is going to come in here and tackle you. Do this deal.
Shark Tank, Sunday through Thursday, starting 8 Eastern, CNBC.
95% of companies fail in the first 5 years.
A high-performing organization needs to be able to adapt. We argue about where the direction of the business is going to go. It's your fault. It's always our fault. And we know, and I don't know what to. Grab the stress. Yeah. Come to the farm. I'm Joe DeSena, CEO and founder of Spartan. I get companies ready.
Apple Insider reported Samsung has reportedly shipped at least 100 million Android smartphones with a security flaw that could have allowed trackers to extract sensitive and
Nice breakout on Q's here. Another nice breakout. There goes Intel turning green for the day. Intel might be a good one to keep your eyes on, guys. INTC. Take a look at Intel shares. Getting a nice climb. 3-month daily chart on Intel.
Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. Crude oil and natural gas prices spiking as fighting continues between Russia and Ukraine. The oil tanker market also seeing a steep jump in daily freight rates. Global spot Suezmax averages more than doubling last week. For more on the global energy markets, let's bring in Nordic American Tankers founder, chairman, and CEO Herbjorn Hansen. Herbjorn, thanks for being with us today. I do want to start with the spike we are seeing in the energy markets right now. How sustained do you think it could potentially be, and what it's going to mean for your business?
Let me tell you that I'm sitting here now in Norway, and I have 2 flags from Ukraine.
Let's see. Jerry says Facebook. Let's take a look at Facebook there, Jerry. What a nice climb there on Facebook. 206 all the way up to 213, 3-month daily. That one's looking ready for a nice climb, Jerry. That'd be a nice one to pick up there on the that pullback. Let's see. We could target about 225, maybe about 240-ish.
Energy market and the tanker business in which we are, they're very sensitive to changes and uncertainty.
MULN, Mullen Automotive hitting new highs now. Michael Uniform in November.
But we are now up against a very serious...
I like those 215 calls from March 18th there, Jerry.
Mullen.
They're not too bad there. The March
announcing progress on solid
18th,
battery pack development.
215 calls there. They're only going for about $6.80 a contract.
The Baltic Dirty Tanker Index has been spiking dramatically. I think it's up another 27% today.
It's not a bad one at all there, Jerry.
Percent over just the past week. Speaking to that volatility we're seeing in the market right now, are you in the midst of sanctions, which I realize the West has been very careful around the sanctions it's enacted, or I should say not enacted, where the energy market is concerned? Are you nonetheless getting phone calls from customers looking to change shipments and reroute and the like?
We are dealing with the biggest oil companies in the world, American companies, ExxonMobil, with British Petroleum and others, and we have taken a clear stance. We support Ukraine and we support America. These are our 2 main constituencies, and we are continuing. If you look here on the screen, you will see the Ukrainian flag and you will see the American flag.
your business? And what does it mean that you're changing in any way you're doing something when you say that?
We did in the past load in Primos in Russia, but we never did invest in Russia itself.
Intel's getting a nice climb there again, back in the green on the day on Intel. Facebook doesn't look too bad there, Jerry. I definitely like that setup on Facebook. Probably give it another day before I'd make a trade on it, though.
And now we are very careful with that as well. We don't wish to deal with others than with the Americans and with Ukrainians. And we, you know, it is quite strange and ironic. When there are uncertainty in the business, then people come to us and ask us to support them. And I wouldn't say that this is an advantage for us, but I would say that...
Got a nice climb there on SPY, right up to that 436. Came down, tested that 432, got to climb right up to that 436 there. Nice setup.
Supported by our big customers because they can rely on us all the time, and that's why we are listed on Wall Street. And we have been listed on Wall Street since the mid-90s, and everything about our company is completely transparent, and that transparency is a big advantage for us, in particular at this time, and that's why
Atlanta Fed's Bostic says for now,
that we are benefiting from
inflation expectations in the longer term haven't moved in a significant
we always
way.
stand by our word, and the big oil companies, they like to do business with us simply because they rely on us.
Bjorn, thank you for joining us today.
Big pleasure, and thank you for taking your time. Thank you.
Well, during February, which is ending, we've been celebrating Black History and featuring some of our CNBC contributors. Here's CNBC contributor Delano Saporu with how he believes our country can empower the Black community financially.
One thing our country can do to empower the Black
Nice candle there on Q's and SPY. There goes AMD breaking 123.15 again. Another nice breakout.
my own personal goals and professional goals. These goals have allowed me to have confidence and pass on what I've learned to others in the Black community. I think if we continue on this path, it will lead to a lot of success stories in different communities and people rising together to reach their goals.
We're not a political show. We're a newscast. The worker crisis in America, it's getting worse. More than 4 million people quit their jobs. They planning to buy a home. It just got more expensive. Sorry.
We have resources all over the world. Heightened alert for American troops. We will not host an argument.
AMD new highs of the day, 123.35. There goes Intel breaking out again. Intel's at highs of the day right now. Q's getting another nice breakout, testing that 347 again. SPY is going to get up to that 436, retest those highs.
XPEV, XPeng, more call activity, March 36 calls on X-Ray Papa Echo Victor.
Come on, get! You know I can't afford all these video games.
Damn. State Farm has rates to fit your budget.
Did you hear that? You're coming out with me.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
We're not a political show. We're a newscast. We have resources all over the world. Heightened alert for American troops. This is a place for the news.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith. Weeknights 7 and midnight Eastern, CNBC.
Joe DeSena is the ultimate business fixer.
What we're doing here is dangerous. True success
Love how our longs look. Just a matter of, I'd say, probably sometime this week or next week when we're going to be adding to those longs, those May and July expos. As long as things hold up here. Once we get a resolve with this Russia-Ukrainian conflict, I think we're going to see the markets get a decent pop. Especially going into the summertime, COVID numbers down, economy getting better. Just got to get this Russia-Ukraine conflict off the table here.
As champion, it's WrestleMania season.
Or at least get the nukes off the table there. I mean, that's putting a lot of fear in the markets.
When you realize what your future can be, you want to do it right. UCF Online offers more than 100 fully online programs, plus personalized support from success coaches, so you can get to the future that's right for you.
There goes AMD again. AMD is just looking amazing here.
Stocks are off the worst levels of the day so far. Near session highs were still lower though, but the consumer staples sector remains among the worst performers, as you can see right there, the third worst performer right now. We want to highlight three of those stocks in the staples sector in particular: PepsiCo, Philip Morris International, and Mondelez.
Tony, I don't think that they're going to allow that to carry on much longer. It's either A, they're going to take over the city, get rid of Zelensky, and, you know, and that's going to be it. Or, you know, they're going to resolve it and say, okay, as long as Ukraine doesn't join NATO, then Russia will back away. You know, or, you know, there's just going to be an all-out war and everything's going to be used. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we're going to see a resolve of this sometime within the next week. The one big thing we got to keep an eye out for is if we do see any of those nuclear weapons starting to move. If we hear any type of news events that Russia's moving around their nuclear weapons, that's going to be an area of concern, and the markets are definitely going to pull back. Look at AMD go, guys. 123.61, near 124 share on AMD.
U.S. official says Russians frustrated by the slow advance on Kiev could review tactics to become more aggressive.
Oh, there's breaking news. Russia's going to be becoming more aggressive now. They're frustrated with the slow attacks coming in on Kyiv. So you guys just heard that news coming through. And the markets are breaking out nicely there. Look at AMD go. What a climb. We're almost green on the day here. We were down quite a bit this morning here, and now we're down about 61 bucks on the day here. Not too shabby. Now down $37 on the day. Down $37.11 on the day here as the markets continue to climb there. We're just about ready to turn green. AMD getting right up to 124 there. That is looking absolutely beautiful on a 3-month daily chart. I think we're going to see that continue to break out. I hope you guys jumped into that, either the vertical spread, those calls we've been talking about on AMD. Got some pretty large trades on AMD here. We picked up this trade for about $10,850. We're already up significantly on that, the April 14th. You take a look at that April 14th, the 115s are going for $14.38 now. $14.38. Up about 33% on that trade so far, and still plenty of time to go on that. Let's see. Dr. G says Square is still breaking out there. Let's see. Square. Look at Tesla up 7% here. Square up over 7%. What a breakout there. That's looking pretty good there. Let's see what PayPal's doing here as well. PayPal's coming off those lows too. Which one you like better there, Joe? You like AM, or do you like PayPal or Square a little better? Square's obviously getting a decent move there. I could be looking at least for 150 on Square. Man, look at AMD go. AMD's going for that 125, 124.10 on AMD. 124.15.
Those connectivity issues. Another satellite broadband provider.
Liking that breakout on Square, PayPal, Tesla up 7% there. Rocket back in the green. Palantir up about 5%. PayPal up 1.2%. NVIDIA shares up about 1.3%, but AMD shares are up 2.5% here. Let's take a look. Nextdoor. Remember, we were talking about Nextdoor. I'd love to buy some shares of Nextdoor. CarMax up about 1.5%. Hood 2.67%, nearing in on $12 a share.
Down about 30.
It's a nice breakout there. Facebook up $1.80. 212.26 on Facebook. Ford's getting a climb off those lows there. Ford's almost at the highs of the day here. Close to highs of the day on Ford. There goes Q's breaking out again. Trying to break that 347 on Q's. It's a nice continued slow climb here today. Took a while there. It took about, what, an hour in the trading day to finally break out of that range from 432 to 434. We broke out of that range there and we continued higher. Love seeing that AMD above that 124.
Good Monday morning and welcome to Tech Check. I'm Deirdre Boza with John Ford. Carl is off today. Global markets on the move as investors weigh the impact of increased sanctions, heightened volatility, and the exclusion of Russia's biggest banks from SWIFT. From financials to crypto, we are breaking down the impact. Plus, Russia and Ukraine's information war amid an influx of misinformation. A look at how companies across the social space are dismantling Vladimir Putin's media machine. And finally,
there goes Q's getting another climb right back up to 347. There goes SPY breaking out with just at highs of the day on that wick.
Yeah, and the stocks are mixed today. Tech is the outperformer of the Nasdaq in the green yet again in what's already been a volatile response over the day and the last 10 days. Today, the market responding to increased sanctions and Western countries' pledge to remove Russian banks' access to SWIFT, which connects financial
AEYS, Keysight, and NTT Docomo collaborate to accelerate Open RAN ecosystem maturity. That's
Hey, good morning,
Kilo
John.
Echo Yankee Sandy KEYS.
Sanctioning Russian banks from the messaging system will cause missed payments and giant overdrafts.
Another nice breakout there on SPY.
Banks off SWIFT is akin to those banks essentially disappearing overnight from the perspective.
Looking pretty good here, guys. Especially going into the lunch hour, just at about the highs of the day. That's looking good. Got to go teach another class there. Rigo, I got your message about your class. So I'm going to shoot you a message once I'm done with this class that I have going on now. I saw your message in the BCA chat there asking about an in-person class. I will get back to you on that, Rigo. Not sure if one of the reps got back to you or not, but if not, I'll get back to you. But we're looking good, guys, going into the lunch hour here. SPY's continuing to climb. I got to go do a class now with one of our students. Rigo, I'll be getting with you, scheduling your class next, and looking pretty good here. Looking pretty good. Probably going to be going live a little bit earlier today. Again, just especially if we continue this climb here, there's might be a few other trades we want to make. Watching the most active stocks, largest percent stock gainers, largest net change stock losers there. All pretty much the same. Looking at the watch list there, seeing if anything else is moving. Chevron had a nice move there today. Express came back from those lows. Facebook had a nice run there. 212.61 on Facebook. Let's see. Robinhood shares up over 3% there. I know Manny was a big one on Robinhood there. He wanted to jump in. I wondered if he did get in on that one. Let's see.
These ADRs, they still hold at this point in time, but one would expect that, as you can see, they are now down 21% for Yandex and 19% for Ozon. So
Palantir and Square are looking pretty good. We got to keep our eye on those this week. There goes Q's breaking out again, getting right back up to that 347. AMD new highs of the day on AMD. Look at that breakout on AMD. What a beauty. Another nice breakout on AMD, 124.36 on AMD. Continuing to climb, 124.42. Guys, we're looking good. So again, 3-month daily chart, AMD, we're getting that breakout. Remember last week I told you I thought we were going to hit that 130 this week. I think we're right on target to hit that 130 this week. And by our expo, I think we might even get up to that 140 or 150 here for that April expo. So that's looking really good there. I love that breakout. We get another nice run back up to about 140 there. We're going to have some really nice profits on that AMD 115 call. Obviously, they'll be worth $25. That'll be worth over 150% return. And if we had $10,850 on that, you know, we're looking at over a $15,000 net profit on this trade if we get up to about 140. So that's looking great. Disney is another one that we have a further out expo on. Disney's at the highs of the day right now. She's only down about 90 cents on the day, 89 cents now. You can take a look at that, getting a nice climb off those lows. And back to that 3-month, 6-month daily chart here. We're going to have some resistance right around that 160. And we could definitely be looking at that further breakout on Disney here. I love that breakout on Disney. I like how it's holding that 20. Once she starts breaking above that 10-day simple moving average, maybe around 152, that's probably right where we're going to be adding to that Disney July 15th expo there. So nice job on that. Intel's another one we definitely want to keep an eye on, INTC.
Coinbase, ticker C.
Intel's looking pretty good there.
The 175 calls are coming in on the ask, expiring April 14th.
That guy's a horrible microphone.
$1.7 million worth. That's ticker COIN. The 175 calls coming
Let's
in
see.
on the
Mark
ask,
Collins says
expiring
VYN. Let's take a look at VYN.
approximately $1.7 million worth.
How much are you paying attention to that in particular?
I don't see any VYN there, Mark.
Atlanta Fed's Bostic says we need to pull back Fed's excess liquidity to the extent possible.
We just hope that the news doesn't get worse. There's been a lot of damage already in some of these stock sectors, and
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's going to take us into the afternoon. I got to go do this class at 11:30 again, and I will see you guys in the afternoon live trade session. Really nice coming off the lows here from that pullback that we've had. We have some longer-term expos. We've been trading to the downside here with some SPY puts. You know, we're getting that climb now, so just going to continue to watch that and add to those longs going into the summertime as long as we get a resolve here with Russia, Ukraine. Just keep an eye on that news. That's going to be the most important thing here that's going to be moving the market. So if we hear anything, I'll be sending out an app alert. I'll be sending it in the trade room, and I will see you guys in the afternoon trade session. Nice job today. We were disciplined, patient, watch the markets here, and continuing to get that nice climb. I'll see everyone in the afternoon. Have a great day. If anyone needs anything, I'll be in the trade room. Take care.
the hit to margins, as they've been reported, some of these companies don't expect them to claw back that margin hit with higher prices themselves for a couple of years. And so this just makes that situation worse. And I'm sure in some sectors, in some countries, they're probably teetering on the brink of recession right now.
Hey David, good morning. It's Deirdre. How are the latest rounds of sanctions investing